This year, Atlus delivered a blast from the past with the re-release of Raidou Kuzunoha, part of the Shin Megami Tensei's Devil Summoner series. If you're familiar with other SMT spin-offs, then get ready to have your expectations flipped. Because this one isn't your typical JRPG. It blends real-time hack-and-slash combat reminiscent of Devil May Cry, with puzzle solving and deduction elements that wouldn't feel out of place in Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Man, Capcom makes a lot of good games. That's one of the things I love about the SMT franchise. Like Final Fantasy, it keeps its core themes but experiments with different gameplay styles. It's that same philosophy that gave birth to Persona, the franchise's most popular series, even though it's not the oldest. So the question is, does Raidou Kuzunoha deserve more recognition, or is this just filler content until Persona 4 Revival drops? My answer is yes, but hold on, because there's a lot that makes this game stand out. Set in the late Taisho period of Japan, you play as the 14th iteration of Raidou Kuzunoha, a title passed down through generations in the Kuzunoha clan, known for their mastery of devil summoning. As the newest successor, you're stationed in the capital, working under the Narumi Detective Agency alongside your cat guide and familiar Goto. The story unfolds episodically, with each chapter presenting a new case. While the early cases seem disconnected, a deeper conspiracy slowly emerges. One that centers around a cursed girl, a sorcerer from a forgotten era, and the dark underbelly of the military. Now, just as a heads up, I'll be covering and spoiling the first 3 chapters of the game. If you're only here for my thoughts on the gameplay or want to avoid story spoilers, feel free to click here to skip ahead. With that out of the way, let's begin. It all starts with a phone call from a young girl named Kaya Daidouji. The only daughter of the prestigious Daidouji family, she contacts you about a job, and when you meet her at a nearby bridge, she reveals the shocking reason for her request. She wants you to end her life. Before you can make much sense of it, you're ambushed by figures in red cloaks. They claim to be part of the country's military, but there's something unmistakably unnatural about them. You sense they're undead. Despite your efforts to fight them off, you're ultimately overwhelmed. Kaya is kidnapped, vanishing into the night along with the mysterious attackers. Left with more questions than answers, you're determined to uncover the truth about Kaya, the soulless army, and their connection. And where better to start than the Daidouji family manor? When you arrive, you're greeted by a lavish estate and an army of servants. Truly a life of privilege. Publicly, Kaya has been missing for quite some time, her uncle Kiyoshi Daidouji speaking with the police about her disappearance. But you know the truth. You saw her just last night. As you investigate the manor further, you begin to uncover the dark secrets buried within the Daidouji family. You learn of a terrible curse that has haunted them for generations. Every time a daughter turns 16, she is said to become possessed by a demon, bringing misfortune and death in her wake. Most would dismiss this as mere superstition, but by the time of Kaya's disappearance, the signs are hard to ignore. Her father, the head of the clan, is mysteriously bedridden with an unexplained illness, and the only able-bodied member of the family, Kaya's uncle Kiyoshi Daidouji, is on the brink of bankruptcy. His once thriving textile business ruined by so-called mysterious circumstances. Digging deeper, you discover something chilling. Beneath the manor lies a hidden prison where Kaya was confined just before her 16th birthday. And that's not all. You learn that Kiyoshi has made a deal with the army. In exchange for handing over Kaya, they promise to extract the demon from her and in return, save Kiyoshi's crumbling business with financial backing. With this information, you confront Kiyoshi about the shady arrangement, but just when it seems like you're about to crack the case wide open, everything takes a sharp turn. Kiyoshi breaks down, rambling incoherently about betrayal, how the army never intended to save Kaya or his company. Before you can press him further, he transforms before your very eyes into a demon hybrid and flees in a frenzy. Just when it feels like you were finally getting somewhere, your only lead vanishes into the night, leaving behind more questions than answers. But before the dust can settle, a voice cuts through the silence. It doesn't belong to anyone nearby. It's unfamiliar, yet somehow knows you by name. It warns you, clearly and directly, to stop interfering.
It would be problematic for me if I simply let you leave now. I'm afraid this is it for you.
And then, just like that, it's gone. With nothing left to go on, you return to the detective agency to regroup and await any new developments. Fortunately, you don't have to wait long. A few days later, your next lead arrives, Tae Asakura, a journalist for the local newspaper. She brings you a case involving a string of mysterious assaults on local taxi drivers. At first glance, it seems unrelated to the Kaya or the Daidouji affair, until Tae reveals a photo she snapped of the suspect. The figure in the image is unmistakable. It's the same demon Kiyoshi turned into. With this shocking new connection, you set off for the last known location of Kiyoshi, now dubbed Red Cape by the media, determined to follow the trail before it goes cold again. Your investigation leads you to a local restaurant where the owner confirms that Kiyoshi was good friends with a rickshaw runner named Denpachi. Quick side note. For those unfamiliar, before automobiles became commonplace, people would hire rickshaw runners to pull them across town. Learning that Denpachi may know something, Raidou and Goto head to Fuagacho in search of him, only to find that he's missing too. So, who do you turn to when even a devil-summoning detective can't track someone down? Why, none other than the local Yakuza. While they may seem intimidating, when you spend your days fighting literal demons, some guys in suits aren't much of a threat. Especially when they're not wearing any. After impressing their boss by proving that Raidou has guts, amongst other things, they agree to help you and reveal Denpachi's whereabouts. But before you can reach him, you're intercepted by soldiers from the army and thrown into confinement. But unlike last time, you're stronger now, and far more prepared. The army's ambush quickly falls apart and you break free, only to find Denpachi imprisoned in the very same prison. After escaping together, you ask Denpachi about Kiyoshi's location. He agrees to help, but only if you assist him first. His sister Shizu has gone missing, and he needs your help to find her. With no other leads, you accept. But all the while, you just can't help but feel that something isn't right about all this. I mean, why would Kiyoshi, a man dealing with bankruptcy, be randomly destroying taxi cabs? And what interest would the army have in imprisoning a simple rickshaw runner? Eventually, your search leads you to Shizu working at the red light district of all places, albeit she does so reluctantly. You see, you learn that she and Denpachi had a falling out over her fiancé, a taxi driver. Denpachi resented cars for making his profession so obsolete, and demanded that she cut off from her fiancé. Shizu, however, chose love, eloping with her fiancé, only for tragedy to strike. Her husband was attacked by the notorious Red Cape while working and ended up hospitalized. With no money for his medical bills, she had no choice but to start working at the red light district. I'm not going to insult your intelligence any further and just flat out reveal that the identity of Red Cape is none other than Denpachi, and not Kiyoshi. This revelation reveals that not only are there multiple Red Capes running around, but the army seems to be involved in creating them. The only question is, why? Well, there are a lot more questions than that, but just keep listening. As expected, when confronting Denpachi, he loses control and transforms into Red Cape, attacking in a fit of rage. Needless to say, you win, or rather, you should have. And with his defeat, Denpachi returns to normal, but now you still don't know the whereabouts of Kiyoshi, as one mystery ends and another begins. After helping Denpachi, he honors his side of the deal and tells us that Kiyoshi likely returned to the one place he treasured the most, his old textile factory. So we head there to track him down. Though honestly, why we didn't think to go check the factory sooner is beyond me. Regardless, in true 1900s Japanese detective novella fashion, things are never that simple. Once we arrive at the ruins of the factory, we're greeted not by Kiyoshi, but by a familiar disembodied voice. The same one that warned us to stop meddling. Frustrated by our persistence, we are then surrounded by floating Russian nesting dolls, only to see ourselves trapped in a labyrinth filled with aggressive demons. Determined not to die in this cursed puzzle box, we press on, only to discover that we're not the only ones imprisoned here. Trapped in the labyrinth are the former factory workers who were once employed under Kiyoshi. Through them, we learned something unexpected. Kiyoshi might not be the villain he appeared to be. Yes, it's easy to assume that he used Kaya for his own gain, but according to his workers, Kiyoshi was a respected, compassionate man who genuinely cared about those around him, both at the factory and at home. He adored his niece, and even in hard times, he never stopped trying to do right by his people. So, what could have pushed such a man over the edge? With that question hanging in the air, we dismantle the labyrinth and escape alongside the factory workers. Finally, we head into the heart of the factory to confront Kiyoshi once and for all. Face to face with him, Kiyoshi confesses he only ever wanted to save his company, but now that things have spiraled out of control, he's ready to tell the truth. And of course, this wouldn't be a mystery game without at least 2 or 3 more misdirects. Kiyoshi suddenly convulses. The color drains from his skin, his eyes go completely white, and a demon erupts from his back.
Brace yourself, for when I speak these words, you may well suffer an attack of explosive amnesia. For you see, the horrible secret is...
Whoever's directing this is a master of suspense!
But this one is different from before. As the creature tears free, Kiyoshi collapses unconscious. Then the ominous voice returns, but this time with a body. From the shadows steps the mysterious foreign sorcerer who's been sabotaging our investigation all this time, as he reveals himself as none other than the legendary Rasputin. Now let's take a moment for a quick history detour. Sharp-eyed players may have noticed that Raidou is set during the Taisho era, specifically Taisho 20, or 1931. But in our real-world history, the Taisho era ended in 1926 with the Emperor's death, ushering in the Showa era. That means the game takes place in an alternate timeline where Emperor Taisho never died. As for Rasputin, the infamous Russian mystic died in 1916. Yet here he is, very much alive and summoning demons in Tokyo. Clearly, we're not dealing with ordinary historical fiction. Rasputin takes the opportunity to launch into a villainous monologue. He explains that the demon pulled from Kiyoshi's body was a Hiruko, a parasite-like entity that manifests from humans, feeding on negative emotions like fear and anxiety, a familiar theme for Atlas games. The Red Cape form that we saw from both Kiyoshi and Denpachi was the Hiruko's defense mechanism, protecting its host until it could fully mature into the flying beast we saw earlier. As for its purpose and Kaya's true role in all of this, well, that remains a closely guarded secret. Naturally, Rasputin summons a demon of his own to take us out, and we defeat it. But by the time the dust settles, Rasputin is gone, and Kiyoshi remains unconscious. We started this journey trying to solve a missing persons case, and now we're neck deep in government conspiracies, mystical parasites, and historical inconsistencies. Whatever this mystery is, it stretches far beyond just one girl, and it's about to reshape everything that we thought we knew about the world of Raidou Kuzunoha. Moving towards the actual game, we need to talk about the voice acting. The voice acting in this remastered is a godsend. For such a dialogue-heavy game, there were moments where I genuinely didn't think my attention span would have survived the twists and turns without it. It breathes new life into scenes that would have otherwise been walls of text, highlighting tension, delivering surprise, and even nailing those little bursts of humor that Atlas games are known for.
I have a question for you! What do you think of me? You think I am stupid? That's right! Good guess! I'm the wall maker! I only know about walls! I'm stupid! I love walls!
And while not every line hits, the performances add just the right amount of drama and personality to keep you invested throughout. Now let's move on to what might possibly be the most unique feature to Raidou Kuzunoha. A typical case begins with Raidou investigating leads and tracking down clues. While demon summoning is a staple across all Shin Megami Tensei games, Raidou Kuzunoha might be the most creative in how it puts those demons to work, not just in combat, but in detective work. Every demon you recruit comes with unique investigation skills, like reading minds, unlocking restricted areas, or forging new paths, all essential for solving cases. Need to uncover information someone is hiding? Read their thoughts. Can't get past some guards blocking the way? Send out a demon to scout the area, or just have one seduce them. And if you're ever missing a demon with crucial skills, don't worry, you can carry over a dozen at once, fuse them into stronger demons, and nearby areas usually have the demons you need. Before I continue, I wanted to make it clear. Full disclosure, I never played the original 2006 PS2 version, so imagine my surprise when I booted up the game and was met with real-time action combat. Not that it's a bad thing, it just caught me off guard, which honestly is pretty fitting for a game designed to subvert your expectations. And yes, I know this re-release is more of a full-on remake than a simple remaster. The combat has been completely overhauled and it feels great. Attacks are snappy, movement is fast, and if you're worried about gameplay feel, don't be. Raidou delivers on that front despite its JRPG roots. You control Raidou directly, dashing and switching between light and heavy attacks. You also have access to mana-based skills, and dodging at the right time lands a powerful parry strike. Light attacks generate mana, heavy attacks dish out more raw damage, and everything you do contributes to a special meter that triggers critical strikes. As for the demons, you can bring 2 into battle at a time, and they fight automatically. And let me say, this is one of the best decisions the developers made. In traditional turn-based RPGs, we like to control everything. We spend hours optimizing stats, perfecting builds, and calculating damage down to the number. But that mentality doesn't really translate well into action games. If control is king in RPG, then pacing is king in action games. Constantly pausing the game to micromanage demons kills the rhythm more than it kills the enemies. So keeping management light and letting your demons handle themselves isn't just convenience, it's a necessity. I know I just spent a lot of words explaining that action games and RPGs are different, but I've played through games before, not gonna name names, that try to combine the two and completely fell apart because they didn't understand this. Building on that idea, the demons in this game function surprisingly well on their own. They teleport and snap to enemies, so there's no worry about them wandering around uselessly. Their AI reliably prioritizes skills that exploit enemy weaknesses, meaning choosing demons with the right affinity is key. Your main focus becomes depleting the enemy's shield bar. As long as that bar remains, enemies can still attack and move freely. You can chip away at it with regular attacks, but hitting them with an affinity they're weak against will drastically drain the bar. Once it's depleted, the enemy is stunned for a while and takes significantly increased damage. It's a satisfying system, and overall, the combat mechanics are rock solid. But it's not perfect. The combat, while quick and smooth, starts to wear thin after a while. With little to no enemy variety, fights can become repetitive, and the only real variation comes from which demons you choose to bring into battle. There's even a mechanic that switches you to gun mode. One common enemy type you'll encounter are demons that throw attacks from a distance and frequently run away. You're supposed to use your gun to momentarily stun them, but since the gun doesn't deal that much damage and doesn't contribute to your combo meter, I didn't find much reason to use it that much. It's not that gunplay is useless, it has its moments. It felt more efficient to just chase enemies down and melee them, focusing on breaking their shields with the quick aggressive combat. Where the combat really shows its age though, is in the boss fights. Bosses tend to have needlessly long health bars without enough complexity to justify it. Sure, they hit harder than regular enemies and typically have a special move you need to avoid or risk getting wiped, but once you learn their pattern, it usually becomes a long cycle of dodging, attacking, and repeating for 5 to 10 minutes straight. That's why I'd actually recommend playing this game on a lower difficulty, not because it's too hard, but because higher difficulty doesn't necessarily make the fights more engaging. And to slightly contradict what I said earlier, I kinda wish I had more control over my demons during boss fights. Normally, I love that they act autonomously, but bosses introduce a different kind of problem. Each one has a lethal move you need to dodge, and your demon's AI doesn't adjust for that. Since they lock onto enemies so quickly, they often end up getting killed instantly by these big attacks. You can manually recall your demons, but only one at a time. And if you're not fast enough, you won't get them both out in time. This process, pausing the flow of battle to micromanage your demons, is exactly the kind of thing that I think hurts pacing in action games. And there are quick commands in this game that disable your demon's skills. But that's not a great solution either, because you do want their skills active most of the time. I think a better fix would have been a command that either recalls both demons instantly or tells them to retreat to your side temporarily without turning off their abilities. But the issues aren't limited to combat. There are problems with the investigation mechanics too. Now don't get me wrong, using demons to solve puzzles is a very cool idea, and one of the game's most unique systems. But the puzzles themselves often feel like missed opportunities. There are two major problems. Either the solution is handed to you immediately, or it's so simple it feels like busy work. You'd think that in a game where you play as a detective, deduction would be front and center. And technically it is, but it rarely feels satisfying. And that's mostly because of this guy, Goto. Every time a new clue or puzzle appears, Goto jumps in with a painfully obvious explanation, robbing you of the chance to figure it out yourself. It's not like the puzzles are that complex to begin with, but being able to connect the dots on your own, even just once in a while, would have gone a long way towards making them feel rewarding. This isn't even my opinion, the game admits this.
I see. Raidou, this is... Wait, have you been giving Raidou the answers this entire time? Pardon? Surely he is capable, as he has succeeded the name of Raidou Kuzunoha. Not to mention he's a detective. No doubt he is resourceful enough to deduce the solution on his own, no? I was about to say so myself. All right, have at it, Raidou. How overbearing.
I think the reason why it holds your hand so much is because it doesn't want players getting stuck. Which, sure, in 2006 walkthroughs weren't as instantly accessible as they are today, but this still feels like a lack of faith in design. If you don't trust the players to solve the puzzles, why make puzzle solving part of the core gameplay? Even the demon abilities, cool as they are, don't feel fully realized. In most cases, you just need to bring the right demon to unlock a door or complete a side quest. And honestly, I like that. It's kind of like using your Pokemon's field abilities to traverse the world, but you know, without the old HM system. But when the game tries to get more complex with puzzles, it doesn't always stick the landing. The best example of this type of puzzle is with the 6 stones. Later on, you encounter a puzzle involving 6 stones. You interact with one, it lights up, but it also toggles a neighboring stone. If the stone is already lit, it turns off instead. The goal is to have all 6 lit at once. It's a classic puzzle, something you've probably seen in a dozen other games. But here's the kicker. You see these walls of flames over here? This is a barrier that prevents Raidou from reaching both sides. So to solve the puzzle, you need to summon a demon that can cross the barrier to handle the right side, while Raidou works the left. If you want to switch sides, you have to dismiss the demon, interact with the rock on the left side, summon the demon again, and then go back to the right. It's not hard, it's just clunky. This feels like artificial complexity for the sake of involving summoning the demon, and it ends up dragging down an otherwise straightforward puzzle. If they wanted to use demons as part of the challenge, Why not just move the barrier here and have you solve the whole thing as a demon? There are better designed moments, but I kept feeling like the puzzle system had potential the devs didn't know how to fully tap into. And that sort of leads into my final point. Let me be clear, I really like this game. That's why I stopped the story summary where I did, to avoid spoiling too much and hopefully encourage more people to try it out. I know it may have sounded like I was building up this game just to tear it down, but honestly, it's a solid 40-hour action RPG with strong controls and a lot of great ideas. And I think the word I'd best describe Raidou is interesting. If you noticed, most of my problems with the games aren't with its systems, they're with its designs. Meaning, if you just tweaked a few things, the boss fights, the puzzle structure, the game could have easily gone from good to great. And honestly, that's a pretty good problem to have, especially considering the fact there is a sequel, Raidou Kuzunoha vs King Abaddon. I'm really curious to see how the series evolved, and given that the first game got a remaster, I'd bet the sequel will follow soon. But that's not the only reason why I made this video. I get that even with the remaster, Raidou has some problems that can't be fixed. There are design decisions baked into the game from nearly 2 decades ago, which is why I'm way more interested in a Raidou 3 than just another Persona game. Now don't get me wrong, I love Persona. Persona 4 was a hugely influential game for me growing up, and it's literally the game that I launched this channel with. I'm excited for the upcoming Persona 4 revival, no question. But lately, it feels like we're getting close to having Persona content every year. Between the Persona 3 remake and the very Persona-adjacent Metaphor ReFantazio, both released in 2024, and with Persona 6 still on the horizon, it's a lot. Meanwhile, there are so many great sub-series under the Shin Megami Tensei umbrella, ones that deserve just as much love. I know that people are crazy for Strange Journey, and personally, I'd love to see a modern update or a PC port of the Devil Survivor games from the DS. And of course now, a new Raidou game. So if this video did anything, hopefully, it made you just a little more curious about the world of Raidou Kuzunoha, just like it did with me.